Okay, now let's consider how we would factor a difference of squares. Okay, let's consider how we would factor a difference of squares. Now I want you to notice here, if you have a difference of squares, that means you have a perfect square. A squared minus b squared. There's some way that you can write this number using a perfect square. And if so, then it factors to a plus b times a minus b. It will always factor this way. This is a formula you can memorize, and it will always work, okay? A squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. So here it says factor each problem completely. All right, first, if you have two pieces and there's a minus sign in the middle, that's a good indication that you've got a difference of squares. So here I've got two pieces. I've got a minus sign in the middle. Now I need to ask myself, are these perfect squares? Okay, what do I multiply? What can I multiply to get x squared? Well, that is x times x. So that's a perfect square. All right, is 49 a perfect square? Is there something that I can multiply by itself to get 49? Hopefully you recognize that that's 7 times 7. So it's a perfect square as well. So my two numbers that I'm using that are perfect squares are x and 7. So if I apply that up here to this formula, this factors to x plus 7 times x minus 7. Okay, let's look at 9. X squared minus 121. Okay, x squared, that's the same as it was over here. That's x times x. 121. If you don't know, look for it till you find it and see if it's a perfect square. The easiest way to know if something's a perfect square is to take your calculator and do the square root of that number. If it's a perfect square, this is going to end up being an integer, not a decimal. So this one works. The square root of 121 is 11. So this can be written as 11 times 11. So it is a perfect square. So my two numbers, or my variable, my number here, are x and 11. So if I apply this, this is going to be x plus 11 times x minus 11. All right, let's do a couple more. 16x squared minus 4y squared. All right, is 16 a perfect square? Again, if you don't know, take your calculator. Square root 16. That's 4, so it is. All right, so 4 times 4 gives me that, and x times x gives me x squared, so that's 4x. So 4x times 4x, that's what works. All right, 4y squared. Hopefully you know that just to get 4, you square 2. So 2, and then y squared would be 2y. So it's 2y and 2y. That gives you 4y squared. So if we apply this rule up here that we have, if we apply the rule, this is going to be 4x plus 2y times 4x minus 2y. Okay, last one. X to the fourth minus 16y to the fourth. All right, to get x to the fourth, that's going to be x squared times x squared, because you add those two exponents, 2 plus 2, to give you 4. And then we just did the square root of 16 over here. We know that's 4. And since this is y to the fourth, that's going to be y squared. So this is 4y squared times 4y squared to give us that one. So if I apply my rule up here, that's going to be x squared plus 4y squared times x squared minus 4y squared. Now, we've got to go one step farther on this one, because this right here is also a perfect square. X squared minus 4y squared is a perfect square. So this one I have to leave, x squared plus 4y squared. If there's a plus in the middle, this does not apply. You can't say, okay, there's a plus, so I'm going to do x squared plus, or I'm going to do x plus 2y and x plus 2y. That doesn't work, okay? It only works if there's a minus in the middle. All right, so let's look at this one. Well, I know to get x squared, I'm going to do x times x. And to get 4y squared, I'm going to do 2y times 2y. So there I've got my two numbers. This is x plus 2y times x minus 2y. And this whole thing would be your final answer. So again, I want to caution you. If you end up with a squared plus b squared. You cannot say that that's equal to a plus b times a plus b. That doesn't work. Don't try to do that, okay? That will not work. You can only use this if this is a minus sign in here. As always, if you have questions, let me know.